It's gonna be another hot one here. It's October and we're still getting temperatures around 100 degrees. It probably will hit 100 today. And I know some of you around Arizona in the bottom be like, oh, that's nothing. But our humidity has been around 60, 70% during the day and can get even higher at night. So those of you who live in Louisiana and Georgia and Florida and South Carolina, North Carolina, you know what I'm talking about. And it is gonna be just like that again today. And here, we live on a farm and we raise a number of different animals. And with extreme temperatures, both really high and really cold, there's a number of things you need to do to make sure that your animals are taken care of. So we're gonna head outside and start the day off, just making sure that our chickens have everything they need to stay protected from the heat today. All right, you guys ready to collect some eggs with me?
Yeah.
You got your egg basket? Yeah, that's mine? Thank you. Let's go collect some eggs. And that's yours? What? It is blue. Good job. But before we collect the eggs, the first thing I need to do is unplug our energizer for the fence. There's no need to get shocked or buzzed as we're climbing over the fence. And for our fences, one of the methods that we use to electrify them, in one section, our upper section, which you'll see here in a moment, was our plug-in energizer, which I just disconnected. And down in the lower portion, we have a solar power energizer. We got all our fencing and our energizers from Premier One, and we'll include that information in the show notes below for those of you interested. Alrighty, Micah. Jump on over. There you go. Here on our farm, we raise chickens and ducks. And when we go out for the morning chores, we go outside to gather the eggs. However, we don't gather chicken eggs in the morning because the chickens usually lay later on in the morning and later on into the day. But the ducks, they lay really early. So we do our first rounds of collecting eggs with gathering the duck eggs. All right, guys, you can get some duck eggs?
Yeah.
Can you reach in that nesting box and get some eggs? Here's one. What's that? Two. Let's go see if we can find some more. Here, put it in the basket. There you go. Good job.
I'll be on it, Daddy.
Yeah. Right now it's a little bit of a scavenger hunt, trying to find the eggs that are just all over the place. We do have nesting box for them, but I brought the chickens and ducks into this area so that way they could help us in just clearing it out. There was poison ivy and all other things, vines growing in here. So we're gradually working together in unison with the chickens and ducks to kind of just clear it up because I want to make this area more productive come next growing season.
You found a whole nest. Let me more.
So guys, how many eggs do we have?
7.
You got 7? Let's see here. You sure do. What about you, Josiah? Did you lose count? There we go. Looks good. Actually, it looks like a little fewer eggs than we normally get. With the heat and the high temperatures, you will notice a drop in the egg production for both chickens and ducks. So it's just part of the things that you have to deal with dealing with the heat. And here in this area, it's a little better for them because one of the things that you want to do to combat high temperatures is make sure you have enough shade for your animals to go in and be protected in. And actually with chickens are more designed to live in jungles and the forest. And that's where chickens really came from. When you see chicken more of in a natural environment, it's going to be in the forest, in the jungles. It's not to the cooler parts of the day, that a chicken will go out into pasture. Because going out into those open areas also will have them open and vulnerable for predators to go. So being in the jungle, being in the forest is a more natural environment for chickens to be in to protect them from predators as well as to protect them from heat and high temperatures. with dealing with the high temperatures, it's very important that you put your eggs away into a cooler spot just to keep them cool and protected from the heat. You don't have to put them into the refrigerator right now, but it is best that you put them into somewhere that's cooler, maybe 70 degrees, 75, even 80 degree temperatures to keep them away from the heat. And that's especially important if you have eggs that have been fertilized or possibly fertilized. We keep males in with the ducks as well as with the chickens. So we have drakes for ducks, and then we have a rooster for our chickens. And I do that because I feel like it's beneficial for the natural order of the flocks, and it just really helps overall. But that does bring with that the risk and possibility of it being fertilized. So those are things to keep in mind. Now, not washing your eggs does protect them somewhat from the heat, and actually even colder temperatures as well. It provides a nice coating over the eggshell, but it doesn't totally eliminate them being affected by the heat. Hey Selah, you getting some good shots down there?
Yep.
Selah is our official farm life photographer, videographer, right? And that's a good close-up right there. The chicken's getting some feed. And as part of the morning chores, we check on the animals' feed as well as their water. And with it going to be 100 degrees today, it's very important that they have the water that they need to keep them from being dehydrated, and because that puts stress on them, which can affect their overall health as well as affect their weight if you're raising your animals for meat birds, as well as their egg production. So the water system that we have here is gravity fed from a watering tank that is about 100 to 150 feet behind me, and it is just fed by hose that comes all the way down in here into this float valve right here in the water there. So let's just go ahead and check on their water and make sure it's flowing out well. Looks like it is. And I put these blocks in here to keep the ducks from playing in the water and splashing it. They will get some dirt that rubs off from their beaks onto in the water in there, so that is where the water looks a little dark there. So, but other than that, it's pretty clean. I primarily raise khaki Campbell ducks because they are one of the best egg layers that I have been able to find. And they've been known to lay up to 300 eggs a year, and that's really, really good. So, but one of the things that I've noticed at the end of the summer, as it starts to get the fall, their feathers become darker. In the earlier part of the year, their feathers are a more khaki color, but then as it goes along, it gets darker. It's just neat. I'm also planning to try a couple different breeds here coming up real soon. So I've ordered some ducklings as well as some chicks. So you just have to stay tuned for that and see what varieties those are. Try out here on our farm, so pretty excited about that. Those should be here in a few weeks. And this is our solar energizer here for our chickens down here. We do have one duck down here. But one thing you'll make sure is you keep this clean. It just helps to make sure that it gets charged properly. And with this flock being mostly chickens, and the one duck that we have is a Muscovy, and Muscovies aren't known for being egg layers, we typically don't gather the eggs in the morning just because there's no eggs usually to gather. So I will just, since I'm here and showing you the chick shawl that they have, we'll just glance in here and see if there are any eggs, as well as just to make sure that their nesting box is clean, because that helps as well. Well, what do you know? The one egg that is in there is the Muscovy, one not known for being a good egg layer. So we got one egg this morning. And the nesting boxes look fairly clean. They just have some the pine shavings in there, as well as some feathers that they left behind. But sometimes you'll have to clean it out, poop and things like that. But I really don't see any here this time. Oh, there's a little piece. Other than that, it looks really good. And it's really important to make sure you have a nice nesting area, nesting boxes or whatever for your chickens and ducks. It just gives them a nice area to be comfortable in, where they can feel safe to lay their eggs, and as well as making it clean and sanitary at the same time. And you can use dried out grass, you can use leaves, so many different other things, shredded paper. It just needs to make sure it is dry and it's just cozy for them. And with the heat and raising chickens in an area that is more open, you do want to make sure that you provide a shade source big enough for them to be able to go in under it during the prime part of the day, the hottest part of the day, to be able to go in and provide themselves with protection from the heat. So that way they can stay safe, they can be protected from the heat, and just won't be right out in the wide open just getting overheated. And the chicksaw that we have here is the perfect size for the flock that I have over here. It's big enough for that all of them can go underneath, fit underneath, or even go inside if they need to. And speaking of going inside, you want to make sure that your chickshaw is well ventilated, that it has areas where airflow can go through it. That is also really beneficial in making sure to help keep your flock healthy. And one last thing we need to check on for this flock is their water. Water is coming from that same tank up above with this float valve here, and it looks nice, clean, cool. However, later today, as it starts getting hot, one of the things that we do is we take some ice from inside and just put it right here inside their water to cool it off. Because how we're watering, the water will get hot from the hose that are open and exposed. Yes, we could bury them, and we may do that at some point, but right now these hoses just absorb that heat during the day, and this water can actually get so hot it will actually almost be like a hot tea, and even hotter. So the chickens don't necessarily enjoy that, so we want to make sure that we provide them water that's going to help cool them off. Not super cold, but they will cool them off. Well, I think they have everything they need right now. We will come back later today to gather the eggs again, and it's very important, as I mentioned earlier, to gather the eggs when it's hot, especially if they're fertilized, because eating a fertilized egg is totally fine. You just don't want that fertilization process to continue to the point where you don't want to be eating the eggs. So just something to keep in mind. They do have the water, the shade, and everything they need. You could go to extremes. I've heard of people doing that, and I don't think it's necessary, of adding things like a fan inside your chicken coop, or right outside the fence for them. I've even heard of people dipping them in water. I don't think that stuff's necessary. These animals are designed to be outside and to be equipped to handle the different extremes. I do say that there's a different set of things that you need, protocol you need to take in mind for when you're dealing with cold, because they're not necessarily animals that originally are in really cold environments. But that's an issue for another time, a topic for another vlog. But I think they have everything they need, so we'll come back and check on them later. Alrighty, it has turned out to be another hot day. It actually got to be 90 degrees right after 10 o'clock, and it is about 100 degrees right now. It's been pretty hot. So we're gonna go ahead and give the chickens and ducks some ice here. Make sure they stay cool, because I'm sure the water has warmed up now, and we wanna make sure that they stay hydrated. It's actually not that bad. It's been a lot hotter than this before, but I'm gonna give them a little bit of ice, make sure they stay cool. It does help having them here in the shade. We're gonna check on the chickens down there, because they're more exposed to the heat. So we're gonna make sure they have ice as well. It's funny, the ducks sometimes like to eat the ice. They just carry it around with them and just suck on it. It's pretty interesting. Just like that right there. And the chickens just tend to peck at it and play games with it sometimes. So most of the ice stays inside and really helps cool down their water. Josiah, could you check that water?
It's not very hot.
It's not? Alright, well let's go ahead and add some ice to it just to make sure. Alrighty, so that is what we have to do to help make sure our chickens stay happy, healthy during the high, hot temperatures. It's a little bit of extra work, but you do what you have to do to make sure you take care of the flocks that you have. And some of the signs that they're hot, chickens will tend to poke their wings out and try to let air circulate through the core of their body. And sometimes they'll have their mouth open and kind of panting a little bit. But that's just what they're trying to do to help cool down. So as long as you're doing your part to make sure you provide the things that they need to help them stay cool, they should be fine. Well, we do have cooler temperatures forecasted, and I so look forward to that. Don't you, Josiah?
Yeah.
Look forward to cooler temperatures, and so do our chickens and our ducks. But in the meantime, we're gonna keep doing what we need to do to make sure they stay cool. So we can stay cool too, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so be cool, be strong. We'll see you next time, and grow on. Have you ever wondered if chickens can eat hot peppers? Here, this yellow one here is a Chinese 5-color pepper. It's very, very hot. And this purple one is a Murasaki Japanese pepper. It's not hot. So, here is a pepper for the chicken. And I'm gonna give this hot pepper here to the chickens too. Oh no, their insides are gonna explode from the heat. Actually, it's not. Chickens, and I think it's the case for most birds, they don't have the receptors that mammals do as far as sensing the heat of the peppers, the hot peppers. So they're actually totally fine eating hot peppers and don't notice a difference. So there you go, this is a little tip for you, tip for today.